completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside.
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hairloss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
How's it going, Joe?
It's going great, Spencer. How are you?
You know what? I'm not terrible. Things are pretty good. Guys, welcome.
I like that.
Welcome to the broadcast, 888-659-3727. This is the Hair Loss Show, The Bald Truth. So welcome. This is the place to come once a week, usually. If you have any questions or concerns about the reality of dealing with hair loss, if you have any questions or concerns about the reality of the hair loss industry, if you're considering having hair transplant surgery, buying a product or a service that's making claims to help to stop, prevent, or treat your hair loss, if you're considering gray market products that you see being talked about on message forums and on subreddits and on, social media platforms, here's the place to get the truth. Now, if you're new to the broadcast, don't know who I am, why I'm here, and who this other guy is. I'm the founder of the American Hair Loss Association, author of The Bald Truth and the Truth About Women's Hair Loss. All shit that was done back in the 90s. That's how long I've been around. Well, the American Hair Loss Association was actually founded in 2001. We got 501c3 status for the first time in 2004. But we've been around for a long time. And this broadcast is really, it's not about selling anything. It's kind of a unique place where men and women can come, mostly guys seem to gravitate to the show, and talk about a subject that society doesn't really allow us to talk about. But not just talk about it, not just, say that we're concerned about it or it disturbs us. That's what I started more than 20 years ago. Now there's a lot of people doing that, which is fucking great, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree.
But this is the place to really get the truth about everything that's happening in the industry. If you're considering doing anything to treat your hair loss, you're going to see a lot of online influencers and a lot of people who are out there, and some of them are providing really great information, but very few, if any, that I'm aware of, have actually ever been in the trenches as far as knowing what's exactly going on in this crazy industry. And there is a handful, a small group of people who are involved in this industry, whether they did it out of naivete initially, they were able to figure out a way to earn and treat people well without ripping them off, or in most cases without disfiguring them. But it's still a very small group of individuals in this, what is it now? Like it's going to be a $6 billion industry, I just read.
Yeah.
It's still a really small group. So when you're getting information, especially with all the plethora of information that's online on your social media accounts and everywhere that you're looking for hope, realize that the majority of people who are in the industry, who are putting content out there, are trying to sell you some shit. Or they are hair transplant clinics from all over the world who have been able to really develop a strong social media presence. Or it's all about, seeing before and after pictures without really understanding that this surgery may not be for you. Or finding a product somewhere that is making all kinds of claims in your Facebook feed. A lot of these people are starting to do, their own, whether podcasts or they have, YouTube channels and shit like that. So it's very difficult to decipher who is telling you the truth. That's the biggest problem. I think, as I said earlier, Joe, that I think it's fantastic that hair loss is now something that so many people are talking about. The fact that it's affecting young men's lives, all of our lives, and women. The fact that there are women out there who are, they're called wigfluencers. And I'm not always a fan of how they are hustling hair and the way in which they're presenting themselves online. But at least it's all being talked about. That's huge compared to where I came from back in 1998.
Did you say wigfluencers?
There's a group of people out there that are kind of, they call themselves, well, they're referred to as wigfluencers, and essentially, they've created these really strong Instagram followers and social media followers, and they are essentially, while they are, I think there's tremendous value to what they're doing. They're normalizing women and hair wearing and, alternative hair, as it's called in the field. But with that said, there isn't necessarily the reality of providing the reality of, buying these things, ordering them online, especially the more expensive pieces that are $10,000, $12,000, or even $2,000 or $3,000, which is a lot of money for most people.
Yeah.
Doesn't always look the way it looks on their social feeds. It's not as easy to finesse and to wear as it is on their social feed. And, these women in general are being compensated for, usually with hair, for putting information on their social feeds. So to me, it's, just like, our side of the industry, it's just a double-edged sword. I think the education is important. The fact that there's awareness is incredibly invaluable. The fact that we're talking about women in this case, that they feel they have a place to go, that they're not alone. But a lot of people who are hair loss sufferers, like us, who get into this field, sadly, in my view, have kind of turned their backs on their brethren because they're fucking selling out.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And that's my open.
That's a good open. I thought you were going to segue into something else that's been going on. Because
who's the guy saying that I'm slurring my speech? What is it? Did I have a stroke or something? Is that what you think?
Are you?
I looked down at the chat for 1 second. Someone says Spencer's slurring his speech.
Were you intending to droop on one side of your face?
Jesus, what the fuck is going on?
For the record, I did not hear a slur.
Thank you.
So I disagree with that assessment. Or with that observation.
I love online comments. I love reading them, even when it's funny. To me, most of it's funny stuff. I've dealt with negative shit my entire career before all this stuff happened, before YouTube, before social media, when there were like whatever message groups. I was getting shit. So I just like to read the mean tweets. Go ahead, John.
I was going to say we should do mean tweets again. We've done that in the past. We did that once. It was several years ago, but that would be fun because there's a lot more of them now than there were 5 years ago.
Oh my God! Look, Spencer's hair is looking dark today. Yeah, it really depends on the color of the shirt because I'm too lazy to change. Is it the aperture, Joe? What changes the color on my camera? I have to white balance it.
White balance. But then, if it's a brighter shirt, then your ISO will be altered because you probably have it on auto.
Yeah, I do.
And that changes things.
So what happens with the lighter shirts that I wear? The darker my hair looks, and the lighter my skin looks too.
Yeah,
that's just the way that it works. I'm too lazy to change it, boys. So.
But and then. Who was it? Jashiki said, Joe, your hair looks different. Didn't do anything different. Washed it, styled it 5 minutes before the show, just like usual. I have changed one thing, though. I have decided to wean myself off of this topical fin that I've been using. And the main reason why I've kept going for so long is because it's just an amazing styling agent, and I was reluctant to get off of it just because of that, because I really like using it for the styling element. But I wasn't feeling like it was actually doing anything for me simply because it's so thick, and I don't know if I don't think it's getting to my scalp, because there is. I never thought to hear myself say this. There's too much hair in the way. Which is
I got to say, yeah, your hair.
Great thing to say.
Your hair is looking awesome, and you're an old man now. It's amazing.
I am an old man, and I feel pretty good about it. But yeah, it's funny. I've discovered or rediscovered a new way to thicken my hair. When I style it in the morning or 5 minutes before the show, I just have like a really high, sticky compound hairspray. And when it's still wet, right out of the shower, I towel dry real quick. I shoot it like 3 or 4 times, comb it in place, and 5 minutes later I dry it with a hair dryer, and then poof, it has more body. And so that's a good thing. That's a tip from Joe for July 15th, 2022.
No one really cares, Joe.
I know.
Guys, let me give out the phone number.
Hell yeah,
888.
awesome. Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
I appreciate that.
888-659-3727. I'm just being sarcastic. All you guys care. Of course you care. Well, that's why they're watching the show.
That's why they're here.
I think there is an element where at least the younger guys are probably not as concerned about our hairstyles and interested about our hairstyles as they are really about learning what's going on in this industry before they make mistakes.
Yeah, I would agree with that comment.
Because I'm starting to look like an old Miami Jew, and you know what? I'm loving it. What am I going to do? I was just telling a friend of mine that a lady friend of mine that my back's turning into Braille. I got to get some shit removed, man.
My back is turning into Braille. Oh my God!
I'm telling you, she reads my back before she goes to sleep, man. It's like a bedtime story. Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. This is the Hair Loss Show. Feel free to call in if you have any questions or concerns about your hair loss. Look, and I'll take your calls in a second. If you guys don't know who Joe Tillman is, you're probably living under a rock. But just to give you a little insight, Joe is the original hair transplant mentor. He's the first guy that really took the time to document his story online. And I know that seems insane when we're living in today, when everyone's documenting everything.
It's weird, yeah.
But back in the day, Joe was the man. He still is, but he was the guy that actually put himself out there. He's like, look, I was fucked up, and I'm going to document this journey for all of you guys so you don't get fucked up and you can see how things turned out. And let me tell you, that was trailblazing, Joe, back in the day.
Well, look, when you got balls big enough to say, look at me on my boat 6 months after my hair transplant, and here's the reality of it, that's saying something, man. That's saying something. Circa 2002. That's ballsy. Today, not so much.
It was. Yeah, today everyone's doing it. But let me tell you, when I was 30 years old and I went on television to talk about how hair loss fucked me up after they published my book, that was terrifying.
Yeah.
Terrifying, man. I was absolutely terrified. It was one thing to have a book published and your friends and family to kind of know what was going on. But as soon as my face was on camera and then I got on the radio, to put yourself out there like that, because I've been hiding it so well for all those years, and to say, look, this fucked me up. I got to tell you, I got a lot of mixed, kind of a mixed response. I remember, and guys, I'll take your call in a second. I remember this one reporter she's really nice. I'm not going to mention her name. She's very well known. And she had a local show in New York and also a local radio program on WOR radio. And after the New York program, because they did so well, she invited me onto her radio program. But I remember after the interview, even though whatever I said, and I'm talking about the emotional aspects of it and how this is really a disease of the spirit for me, and that's why I decided to write the book, and her husband is known for his comb over. Camera goes off. We take the mics off, and she goes, you know, I don't understand why guys are so worried about this. And I'm thinking, you just had me on fucking television to talk about why guys are so worried about it.
Oh, my God.
That was my first live interview.
Clueless.
Anyway, guys, phone number 888-659-3727. And it's still happening today. But I do, again, social media, double-edged sword, but I really appreciate the fact that there's so many guys out there talking about their hair loss now, and women, and people talking about hair pieces and wigs and all the stuff that has been taboo for so long. It's now becoming part of the mainstream vernacular, and it's amazing to me.
Yeah,
See who this
it's out
is.
there, and a lot more acceptance, which is nice.
Yes. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
It's Morty from Brooklyn.
Morty, welcome to the show. How are you?
Jeez.
It's so great to be on this show for the first time. No,
long time
For the
listener,
first
first time
time.
caller.
After your
Yeah, this
birthday.
week.
Happy birthday, sir.
Yes, happy belated,
thank
my
you,
man.
sir. Yes, I am 53 years young, and I
Mazel
got the
tov.
hairline of a 25-year-old, at least a 25-year-old me. So actually,
Dude.
even better
There
than
you go.
that, to be honest.
You know, you are.
Congratulations.
Your story is exciting, Morty, and I know that people give you shit in the chat, but trust me, there's so many people who are not in the chat who are hearing you for the first time. And your story is exciting because you're a guy who, I remember when you called in initially, you were gung-ho, you were ready to go, you didn't know shit. You took the time, you stepped back, you educated yourself, and then you've made all the right choices. And now you're a guy that looks, I mean, your hair transplant results are nothing but, in my view, miraculous at this point.
Yeah, I tell you something, Spencer. I look at pictures of myself from 2017, from 2018, and then I compare them to the way I look now. I look like a completely different person. All kidding aside. I mean, I will turn and look at myself in the mirror and do a double take, even now.
That's amazing.
And you know what's really kind of funny is that, I mean, I've been bald for a very long time. I started losing my hair when I was in my early 20s, and I was pretty much, skin bald by the time I was 30. And and so I'd basically gotten used to the way I looked, and, for the most part, I was okay with it. But, now I look at myself in the mirror and I smile, and it's just kind of crazy because you don't realize how much I didn't realize how much this held me down emotionally until now, when I can look at myself in the mirror and be like, I mean, you, Joe, you especially, you understand this because not only did you lose your hair, but you had those years where you had those spider legs growing out of the top of your head. And, you could have a great day and just, look in the mirror and suddenly you're knocked down a peg. And you might not even realize it because it's happening at the subconscious level. But, man, I mean, let
me ask you this, and I've known, again, I have a whole sham going on. So, when I wake up in the morning and I shower and then there's no pains in my hair and I dry my hair and I put the mirror back there and I look at my reality, which is still, I thank God for it. Trust me.
Oh, yeah.
It's
better than what you could have been if you didn't get on those meds when you did.
100%. So, yes, it's a major paint job, and I grow the hair a little longer on top to comb it over and spray it shut and all that stuff. But when I'm done with the process, I look at myself and I'm just like, okay, I'm still able to pull this shit off. And it makes me
and
feel...
you do it well, Spencer.
Thanks, but it makes me feel like very fortunate. Where there's a lot of guys who made the wrong moves early on, like Joe did, but he was able to get corrected. But especially in our days, or in my days, back in the late 80s, who were really fucked up. I was super vulnerable. I almost made a couple of really bad moves. I almost had a wig sewn into my head. I don't know if you know that story, but you might have. And I ended up pulling the plug on that, no pun intended. And I was really considering having hair transplant surgery when I would have been destroyed. And somehow I was able to step away from that. But so many people, like our friend Adrian from Australia, were, coming up around the same time that I did. They believed what they were being sold. and they were fucked up. While you suffered throughout this, you would have suffered a lot more, my man.
Oh,
if you would have gotten
about
something
it.
early on.
Oh. So I'm grateful to you, Spencer, and to you, Joe, for guiding me in the right direction, because there are so many people who have been guided in the wrong direction. I called him last week and I talked about this gentleman. I think he's an English fellow who has a YouTube channel called Rate This Clinic, and he's been taking calls from other people who have gone through specific clinics, and they show some of the butchery. Like this one guy, he just put up his video recently where he was showing his donor area, and this is an African American gentleman, and he showed a picture of the extraction of the donor area immediately post surgery, and his skin was paler than me.
Yeah,
I mean that's how badly they messed him up, and a year later, all he's getting is wispies that are growing back. What they did to him was just, it was criminal.
It's criminal, man. It's fucking brutal. And, I went online last night. And by the way, Morty, when I went on YouTube, I saw a video that came up that I did. It was with me. And, what's his name? Dr. Linkoff. And I'm like, I haven't seen this in a long time. I watched a little bit of it once, but I actually only saw it, not the YouTube video, I actually only saw it on Instagram, because it was an Instagram Live that he turned into a YouTube thing. And I saw that you had commented on there, and I guess somebody was giving us shit, and you were like, you really defended me, man. That was awesome. I want to thank you for that. I had no idea you did that. You didn't even call to take credit about it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, Spencer. What you've done for me, I cannot pay you back for. It is impossible. So I will do everything I can to defend you, because you're an honest, good person with a good heart, and somebody who is he's not interested in any angles on anybody's life, and you're just out there doing good for people, for complete strangers. I mean, when you and I first started communicating, I was a complete stranger. I was just a goofball who liked to call into the show and liked to hear his own voice, which is still probably true. But, and so, for me, it's easy to defend you, because it's easy to defend the truth. The truth is the easiest thing in the world to defend.
Well, listen, first of all, I appreciate it. And, I've been dealing with this forever. And it doesn't matter. There's always one, hater or detractor out there. When I think about all of the positive stuff that I've experienced from callers and from viewers and readers over the years, I mean, that shit doesn't even faze me at this point. But I happen to notice that. And so, anyway, so I've been looking at YouTubers and stuff on hair loss, which I have to admit I don't do. And now I'm starting to do it, because there's some stuff, and we'll be talking about it soon, that we're going to be doing in this space that is going to, I think, really help to benefit and kind of guide people in a safe direction to kind of know, what's out there, who's out there, what's reasonable to get your information from, and shit like that. And I'm just taking a cursory look at some of the stuff, and I don't know. I guess it was out of vanity, or I've never seen this particular video on YouTube. I only saw it on Instagram, so I checked it out for a second, and bingo, you're right there defending us and defending me. So I just want to thank you for that.
Well, you're quite welcome, and I'm doing my best also on Hair Loss Conquerors. If I can contribute to somebody asking the question, I'll always try to answer in the best way.
What is that?
People have questions.
Is that the group that you're involved in, Joe?
Yeah, that's the Facebook page that I was brought into. I forgot who told me about it originally, but Mr. Rolandis is on there. Yeah. Morty came on board recently.
Mr. Rolandis is the best, Joe. I love that kid.
I love that guy. And I was talking about it last weekend, where it is just so refreshing to be on a platform where everyone's open about who they are. Like, there's no one, like, most people are using their actual names from their regular Facebook accounts, and there's not really this one-upmanship that you see on some of the forums, where people are taking advantage of their anonymity and just slacking off any guy that disagrees with them. it's really supportive. It's really nice to see, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And Morty, I'm glad you're there too.
Well, I've never, in my 20-some-odd years, I've never seen a really supportive male community. The women community, the female communities are so much different. Everyone's supporting each other. Everyone's trying to help each other. No one's saying, like, even if someone comes on there with a bad transplant or a bad wig or whatever it is, these women are kind. They're kind to each other. They're trying to help each other. It's so different.
Some of them. I've seen some pretty bad cat fights myself. So I think it goes both ways, I would say.
Well, it depends. I don't disagree with you, but I would say in general, the female communities, man, in this space, it's such a kinder, so much of a kinder space.
Well, that's good. Glad to hear that. It's funny you mentioned Dr. Linkoff. He just did a video today about the new JAK inhibitor that got released.
Yeah.
And it was really very interesting. Yeah, and the reason why he's not using it, and it was scary to me when he started ticking off the side effects, like higher all cause mortality, cancer.
Sure. These are the same drugs that are used for rheumatoid arthritis, and also being tested for severe vitiligo and stuff like that. So you really have to be committed to taking this drug or taking these drugs before you jump into it. It's a big thing.
What I liked about I saw that video myself this morning. What I liked about that is Gary had a lot of support from people in the comments section saying, "Don't bother." Some of them were calling it how it is, saying the look you have now is your brand.
It's true,
and they're not wrong. They're not wrong. It is absolutely his brand to be the I don't want to call him bald, but the hair loss doctor. And
well, I think I once apologized to him on this broadcast because there was a time initially when I was a little concerned about somebody who's relatively new to the hair space as far as surgery, kind of promoting hair transplant surgery, and as things evolved on his channel, and the more that I watched him, and I really took the time to watch him, and I know the guy, he's a really nice guy. He has such a kind approach to everything that he does, and there's a reason for his immense success, online at least, and I think that he deserves it, and he really does. There's a lot of clickbaity stuff, and that's just the way the internet works. But when you actually stop and watch his videos, and I'm not even talking about the hair loss stuff, the other stuff, I mean, they're very thoughtful, well-produced, just good representations, in my view, of what a physician should be.
Yeah. I'm very impressed with the concept that he creates as well. The thing that struck me, though, is after listening to all the side effects and, all the documented side effects in this, and then knowing what I know, knowing, all these different things in terms of issues with, immunity issues with, cancer and all of these types of things, I know that there's going to be an awful lot of people that are still going to take the drugs despite all of these warnings.
Of course.
And, and it all comes back to, the way that we see ourselves. What is it that we needed to do or would be willing to do in order to be able to get that look that we used to have?
Well, but also this is, when you're dealing with alopecia areata, I mean, this is a profoundly life-changing event that for some people it's so difficult, which I could certainly understand. And people have been taking these drugs for arthritis for years, so it's not something that's new to the market. It's just been approved for this indication, and they are renaming the drug, for this indication. So these JAK inhibitors have been talked about. I had Dr. King on, what's his name, Brett King from Yale about 6 or 7 years ago when he made the initial discovery. And you can find that on The Bald Truth. And we talked about it, and basically it was the first drug that ever actually, I mean, it worked to the point where people who had been dealing with alopecia universalis grew back all of their hair.
Yeah, well, that was what the images they're striking. It's certainly true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he said 7 years ago, and unfortunately, I guess Gary only talked about it being approved for arthritis in 2018. So I guess, it goes back that far.
It goes back further.
Huh.
I can give you,
look
it up. But
no, I believe you.
There's actually, there's a couple of JAK inhibitors that were approved, and maybe this particular one was approved for arthritis in 2018, but I don't think that's correct. I have to take a look.
Mm. Yeah. Well, it was one of the things that struck me is like, it's one of those things where, like, if I were somebody like Gary, I would probably wait until it was like at least 10 years worth of background on it. Now, you compare that to, to what you're using to DHT inhibitors, and those things have been around a lot longer, and yet people are still freaking out about them, which I still don't understand.
Well, and we're going to take another call in a second, Morty, but what I always find fascinating is if you actually compared DHT inhibitors with hormonal birth control and the actual listed causal side effects of, common birth control pills, low or high androgen index, I mean, those side effects blow finasteride out of the fucking water, and that shit's prescribed like candy to young kids, to kids who are starting to have difficulties with their periods, and when they're 13, 14 years old. And docs are like, yeah, let's try this. Let's get this girl on a regular cycle, and boom, all kinds of fucking issues.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to let you go. Once again, gentlemen, thank you for all that you do, and have a great weekend.
All right, dude. Great call.
And
Thanks
Morty,
a lot.
once again, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Dude, 53 is the new 52, so don't even worry about it.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
I'm the young one of the group.
So how old are you, Joe? You're 52?
Yeah.
Jesus. Fucking baby. Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. I would say that, and we will take your calls in a second, guys. I would say that going from 52 to 57, there's a difference. Like 45 to 50, 52, nothing. Like I just felt the same. I essentially looked the same. I kind of feel I look the same for the most part, except for my braille back. But you're gonna get that shit removed. But there's definitely a change. It's like, okay, I'm closer to 60 than I am to 50 now. So shit's really getting real. So I'm like, someone asked me to go have a drink. I'm like, nope. Someone asked, I can't hang out. I got to get to bed by fucking 11. Like I'm trying to survive this thing.
Wow, and ultimately we're all going to fail.
100%. But while I'm here, my goal is to try to have as less suffering and deal with as few issues health-wise as possible.
But you're actually suffering more because you're denying yourself the pleasures that you would otherwise take part in.
No. I'll still go out, and I will still get loaded once in a while, I'm sure. But you know what? I cannot do it on a bi-weekly basis or whatever I was doing it. Like there have been times when I remember one time I had this guy that came out here from one of these these turnkey device companies, and I had not eaten all day. Had him on the show, whatever it is. We went to my place downstairs, and I got
remember you telling me that.
Blackout hammered, man. I'm just like, the video's somewhere. But that's part of the aging process. Like, that never used to happen to me. Ever. Guys, phone number 888-659-3727. This is the Hair Loss Show. But I go on some, tangents once in a while. Let's see who this is.
That's okay.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, guys. Mike from New York. How you doing?
Mike, man. How are you doing?
Hey, Mike. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Just called into unrelated topic to what's going on with me. I'm not sure you guys know much about hair systems, but I read the Reddits. I'm just looking down the line as a last-ditch effort. And I see these guys talking about, I got my cleaning and reapply, do it themselves. I got it down to 4 hours. And I'm thinking, 4 hours? What is taking 4 hours? I mean, you're cleaning the glue off, you're applying new glue, you're washing the hair and then putting it back on. I mean, I don't know if you could answer that question or how much you guys know about the system.
I think it depends on your skill set. I would say that 4 hours for a lot of guys is probably short. Imagine taking this thing off that's been on your head for a week, or even 2 weeks for some people, and you have to delicately remove all this glue from the piece and from your head, and that some of that's mixed into your hair. So that's got to take some time. Now, there are guys who are just kind of willing to shave the entire top and even shave some of the extra glue around it. You know, if they have to rip out hair, you know, they're a little sloppy, they have it done, they do it quickly. But then it also depends on the system base. If you're dealing with like a lace system, I don't even know how these motherfuckers do that. And you see them doing it online. And they put it in the solution and they let the glue melt and they kind of, you know, wipe it away, and they use different tools to wipe it. It's a process, man. So I would say that I knew one guy that used to be online. He used to be on the old Hair Loss Help. Then he worked for, I think, Hair Direct for a while, and he put out videos. And I forget his name. He's a really nice guy. But I think he had it down to like less than an hour. And you would see this guy do this shit on video, and it was amazing for me to watch. And he looked really good. I mean, this guy would, you know, replace his pieces. He had lace systems, and he was very open about it. Obviously, he's doing it online. So I would say that he is a guy who had a tremendous skill set, a lot of experience, and knew how to nuance it really well. And then there's the average guy who might not be as creative or artistic, or not autistic, but artistic, and just not be as good at this stuff. So, yeah, man, if you're new to it, and you're doing it yourself, you could be fucked for 2 days.
I don't, that's crazy to me. I don't understand how it could take 4 hours to remove glue from it. And I feel like you have to kind of do lace with a poly perimeter, because if you sweat at all, which I do, poly is not going to cut it.
Yeah, but I think if you do lace with a poly perimeter, if you're willing to not be that concerned about the entire thing being like locked onto your head, you can probably kind of tack it down in the center where the lace is, but really, you know, secure it around the poly perimeter, so that would be easier to clean.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
it's amazing to me that
guys that want this to be like their second skin, so they're putting glue all over their head. You see these people online pouring on their entire scalps and then putting the lace on. That seems like it can be very difficult.
Yeah, I saw a video of a guy who had it on, and he was on like one of those push carts that you move boxes on, and a guy was pulling him by his hair and moving him. That's how secure the bond was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The first couple of days, that shit is like, it'll pull your skin off. But you know, look, when I did the yarmulke thing, and I did it for a very short time as a trial, and I couldn't do it, because I'm not saying that I won't. But for me, painting is just much more convenient, and it's a lot easier. But it was like, I didn't want to shave the area and all that stuff, but glue got stuck in my hair. It was a whole fucking thing, you know?
But how come these things haven't advanced? I mean, we have no advancements in hair system technology that makes this easier. No one, I mean, that seems like a big market. Someone come up with a system and a process where they sell you everything, and it's step by step, and it streamlines it, you know, like the Apple of hair systems.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Do.
Like,
they have systems like that. They also have disposable systems where it's pre-taped and all that stuff. But I got to tell you that, and then you just kind of remove it. You remove the tape. You don't have to clean it, and you just throw it out. But you know, some of them to me, especially when you're wearing a full system, have been looked questionable. I mean, you really have to know how to finesse that shit. You have to be a fucking pro to look really good.
Great.
You know? But you can do it. That's the thing. You know, if you are committed, you can do it. But if you're just some sloppy guy, you're not going to be able to make it happen.
Yeah, but there's also the option of going to a barber or some sort of shop that deals with this on a regular basis, and they could probably do it faster for you.
Yeah.
Right, the problem is that adds up with cost. The cost adds up very quickly with that. I mean, we're talking, you know, they're charging $300-400 a shot.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you would have to do it. I would say that when they tell you to come back once a month, that's bullshit, man. You don't want to.
No, it's every 2 weeks.
You don't want to keep that shit on your head for a month. I don't even think you want to keep it on every 2 weeks. But you know, I mean, look, I gave it a shot, you know, in the back, and my situation was different, so I don't know what it would be like if you're doing a whole piece.
Yeah.
So maybe it will, you'll be able to do it for 2 weeks, and maybe you can like lift it a little bit and tack it down if it gets loose. Or
if I were looking at this seriously, I would make that investment to go to a shop as long as they're really good, and I would study the shit out of what they're doing so I can do it myself.
Right.
Like I would learn. I would learn what they're doing, finesse a little bit of information out of them, and then eventually take it over myself.
What I would probably do is I would find the right shop who had a couple of, hot stylists, and I would end up dating one. That's the way to make it happen.
I don't know why this is so shrouded in secrecy. We have all these YouTube channels for hair loss. You think somebody would have a channel where they show this stuff step by step? I mean, you have the hair system channel. They do, but they don't really go into depth. They show a little bit, but they don't really go into, like, if you break this down to an exact science, like, okay, you remove this, you put the scalp protect, you do this, that. Here's pictures of everything you need, the products.
Hair Direct used to have videos, but I think they went out of business. The pandemic threw the entire industry off. It destroyed it for a lot of people. Hair Direct was one of the biggest direct suppliers. They could not continue. They went out of business. But they used to have videos, and you may want to look on YouTube under Hair Direct, and they may still have some stuff up.
Okay, and my other question was, do you know what? I know Morty said it, but I couldn't hear him a couple weeks ago. What surgeon did he use in New York?
Morty went to John Cole.
He's in New York, right?
He has an office in New York. Yeah.
It's COLE.
It's COLE, correct.
All right, and then the last thing I just want to say is it's so funny. I was listening to that comedian Sebastian Maniscalco, and he started joking about how he's starting to lose his hair, and then he starts talking about finasteride, but he's saying, I'm not going to go on that because then your dick doesn't work, and what good's having hair if my dick doesn't work? And it just, it just goes to show you that they're still propagating this myth that most people on this drug have this side effect when it really is less than 5%.
Even if it was 10%, and that would be high, that would still mean that 90% don't have any issues.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's listen, the reality is if you pull that short straw, you're fucked. That sucks, man.
Yeah, but most guys don't. I mean, I'm on dutasteride. I still have no side effects.
I like that comedian, but that was an easy joke, and it's kind of disappointing that he went there and didn't try to finesse it with something more, we'll say advanced, because that's just too easy of a joke.
Yep.
But it is what it is. Like I enjoy his humor, but that was kind of.
Sebastian, he's the Italian guy that's always like he's very like.
You want some coffee? Come on in. You want some coffee? We got some.
Yeah, he's very animated.
He's very animated. That's the word I'm looking for. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, he's good.
Well, look, a lot of the guys, balding comedians, they talk about this stuff, and if I'm watching like Rogan and I see some comedians talking about it, and then Rogan talks about his hair loss, and it's still even he went through two transplants, and there's still, and you would think that there'd be a lot more knowledge there, and the guy knows a lot. He's a super smart guy, but he probably after he kind of gave up on the process, he kind of stopped doing his research. But when I hear these guys talking, these guys, some of these guys have a lot of money and they're very successful in life. They have no clue of the reality of what the real options are out there for your hair loss.
Yeah.
Right.
What works, what doesn't, what the real side effects are, what the whole breakdown is.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's just
true.
the nature of the game, man. You really have to have a tremendous interest. When I first started to do this, I remember the Washington Post did a story on me. It was a good story, like 2 pages, and they said I had encyclopedic knowledge of hair loss. I didn't have an encyclopedic knowledge of hair loss. I was just a guy who was so obsessed about his hair that I wanted to learn everything I could know.
Yeah, you did the research.
And do the research. Anybody could have had the same. Yeah, anyone could have the same amount of knowledge as me. And there are people out there that probably, and I think, have more at this point. I've really concentrated now more on focusing my efforts on providing information about the industry.
Yeah, it's so funny the amount of misinformation, because it was like I was watching a podcast. I can't remember what comedian it was, and he was talking about he wanted to go for a hair transplant. And Theo Vaughn is always on this podcast, and he claims he had multiple hair transplants. And I'm scrolling down through the comments, and I see a comment that says, don't be finessed by what you see. It's not a lot of the what's going on out there is a lot of butchering too. And I look, and sure enough, it's Joe who left the comment on that video.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Joe's busy, man.
I can't remember what podcast it was. The one they always have Chris DeLeon.
Look, here's the good news. The good news is more and more people are talking about it. The bad news is there's still...
Oh, Brian Calling. Sorry, Brian Calling. That's the comedian.
The bad news is there's still so much misinformation, and it's not necessarily that it's done purposely. It's like the telephone game. People hear one thing, and then, also that, the information changes along the way. But also people live on sound bites now. They don't really take the time to dive in and delve into anything. And
I had a client who was completely bald. We started talking about your hair transplant. He's like, I'm getting one done. I'm going to do my whole head. I'm getting FUE.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, you're in Norwood 7, buddy.
Yeah.
You're not getting FUE anything.
You're never coming back, man. That's it. You're done.
Yeah.
How about no. I'm Norwood 7. Yeah, they're going to do my whole head. They're not doing FUE. They're doing DHI.
Right.
Kills me.
Or Sapphire.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been noticing more and more YouTubers that are not in the hair space. They're doing something else. Like there's this fitness guy that's friends with Connor Murphy. He's in that fitness, walking around with a shirt asking girls to get their numbers type of YouTube stuff. He went to a notorious Turkish clinic recently, and he even said in the lead up to showing his journey that he was afraid about losing his hair. By the way, the thumbnail on his video is him doing that typical, pulling the temple back to look at his loss, and they photoshopped his temple to look worse than it really is. And it wasn't supposed to be an obvious Photoshop job either. I forgot his name. I forgot. He's one of those fitness guys, like Greg Doucette and those guys. He's in that camp. But he's done several videos with Connor Murphy, so they're apparently like close. But he even talked about
is Connor Murphy the guy that did the anesthetic-free hair transplant?
Yes.
Mike, it sounds like he just went to a tunnel or something.
Can you hear me?
Now I can, yeah. But
what transplant did he do? Anesthetic?
He had an anesthetic-free hair transplant.
He did a hair transplant without anesthetic. Yeah. So this guy, he's talking about how before he was approached by this clinic, that he had decided that he wasn't going to do a hair transplant until he had a lot more loss, because he decided that he was okay with it and he could hide it and he was fine. So this guy admits on camera that the only reason he's getting the surgery is because the clinic itself offered it to him, which denotes that they paid him. At the very least, they gave it to him for free in exchange for promotion, but he's not talking about that. And that bugs me, because people need to be disclosing this kind of stuff. And then he goes all the way over to Turkey, and it's like one of the most notorious clinics out there. And then 2 weeks later, there's another guy who's involved with Jake Paul and that crew. This guy's got like 2 or 3 million subs.
I saw this.
He's actually in Turkey, and he's in the hotel that they supplied for him. And then he says, "I'm not going to name the name of the clinic unless they decide they want to pay me." And the next scene is he's saying, "Oh yeah, well it's such and such clinic."
Huh.
It's like there's no, like, all the seriousness of this has been ripped out of every presentation out there. It's just these YouTubers that make it look like it's so easy, and they're showing the same shit that everyone else does. The supposed 5-star hotel, these Mercedes sprint vans that are decked out.
Listen, Joe, what about that article? What about that article in GQ? I think that's a perfect representation of the reality of what's happening today, and how the media, even the legacy media, is not taking this seriously. I said this in the chat room that, when I am contacted by any media, especially when they want to talk about hair transplant surgery, or they want to talk about cosmetic surgery tourism in Turkey or India, my first question is, are you a hair loss sufferer, and are you considering surgery yourself? And if they tell me that they are going on a journey or they're going to have surgery and they want to write about it and they're getting some questions and they want to document it, I'm out. I am fucking out, man. I'm just like, good luck. Because I know that there's going to be this real bias. And it's going to be very difficult. They have a certain story in hand that they pitched to their editor. And it's not, don't have a fucking Turkish hair transplant. That's not the story.
No.
So anyone who falls prey to that, in my view, is a rookie and a fucking idiot. And guess who fell prey to that fucking article? Dr. Ricardo Mejia from the Fight the Fight campaign of the ISHRS. And what did that do? This guy
looked like a fool.
Well, this guy decided to take the information that Ricardo was giving him in good faith, saying, you have to be careful out there, you have to know who's doing your work, blah, blah, blah. We have this black market campaign, check this out, here's a link. Blah. This guy basically said, this so-called expert is a fucking idiot, because my experience was so much different than what he was claiming was going to happen to me.
Yep.
And what's interesting about this, even more interesting to me, is that this guy is only a few months out. GQ prints this article. He has no idea, even though he admits it, that he has no idea how it's going to turn out. He makes it seem as though this was a great experience, much different than the so-called experts were telling me it was going to be.
He was mocking them.
What'd you say? Yeah, he was mocking them.
He was mocking them because Ricardo was talking about, you don't know if the person that's doing the surgery
is a taxi driver.
Was a taxi driver last week. And he said, yeah, I'm really happy with something along the lines of, so far I'm really happy, even if my surgeon was a taxi driver.
No, he actually said, and I don't even think my surgeon was a taxi driver or something like that.
Oh, you got to correct me. Okay.
I'm just trying to get it straight for our people. But here's the thing, guys, and Mike, I'm sure you understand. Well, I hope you understand where I'm going with this. It does. There's so much misinformation out there. There's so many people that have this. What's the bias called, Joe? I'm losing my mind.
Confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias when they're going into something that the truth is very difficult to get out there, especially when they're moving and they have momentum. And that happens to a lot of these influencers where they get the hair transplant, they think they're doing a good thing. And then they find out, oh shit, I fucked up. And meanwhile, there are thousands of people who decide to have a hair transplant based on their initial videos and the fact that they claimed they had a good experience when they really had no idea what the outcome was going to be.
All right, guys. Well, have a great Friday. Appreciate it.
Mike, thanks for listening, man.
All right.
All right. Take it easy.
Take care, guys.
Dude, let me tell you, when you bore the shit out of your caller and the caller's got to get off, when Mike's got to get off the fucking phone,
he doesn't mince words. He's like, okay, bye.
I did my job. 888-659-3727. Mike's a great caller. I hope that he's doing well, by the way. He didn't even talk about himself much today.
He didn't.
So I hope he's doing okay. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Mike in NYC.
Hey, Mike,
Hello,
what's happening?
Mike. A different Mike.
What's going on, guys? Yeah, this is the other Mike. I'm not really in NYC, actually. I'm just outside, but
you're the Mike. You're the Mike with the fucking pipes, by the way.
Pipes?
Yeah.
Great, my voice.
Great
my
voice, yeah.
Well, thank you, sir. It's funny that what Mike in New York was mentioning about Sebastian Maniscalco, which I didn't know about, but his joke. But there's a guy named Jim Jeffries, I believe his name is. He was on the Tonight Show not too long ago. You have to watch this video. He does
the
same
Australian
thing.
guy?
Correct. And he goes on about how he's on finasteride, and he basically flat out says his dick doesn't work. He says, my dick doesn't work, and I have to take Viagra for it. And Pete Davidson on SNL has done flat out stand-up routines with the whole bit. I mean, we know what's going on as far as comedians go, but yeah, it's wild to go that far. You're talking about something that's medical, and you're talking about, they make it seem like, oh, take this pill, my dick's done,
Yeah. Well, and it's also the nature of the game as far as, how hair loss is referenced in our culture and that it's not really taken all that seriously. It's not looked at as a true medical condition. Treating it isn't looked at as medically treating an actual condition. It's just the nature of the game, man. You know what? We can't change that. I've been trying to change that for 24 years. I gave up on changing that. I'm just working in the shark tank that I've been given and navigating through this.
I mean,
well, yeah, you made a good.
It's not look like it's like it's a serious condition because hey, we're not all Jada Pinkett's here.
Oh,
yeah.
Excellent point, by the way, Joseph.
Thank you.
She leveraged. Some people think that she leveraged the term alopecia to potentially evoke some sympathy. When in fact, yeah, she has alopecia, but is it? Alopecia universalis or areata, or is it just common female pattern hair loss, which is androgenetic alopecia? Or is it traction alopecia? Is it a combination of alopecias? We don't know. Go ahead, Mike.
Well,
go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to call and let you guys know that with my transplant, how it went very well.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot you were getting a transplant, man. So you went to India.
No. Well, I don't want to really go into like a detail like the review of like who I went to, but I just want to let you guys know like how it went and all that.
We don't want to review. Yeah. I don't give a shit who you went to. Okay, I'm just kidding.
I mean, yeah.
For some reason, I thought you went to India. There's another guy.
I will say that eugenics was very close and very near the top of my list. And if it wasn't so far, even though that shouldn't have much to do with it, but there was a factor where like my first choice was basically like okay, this is a great choice. This is a great choice, but if I could be on a plane for whatever 7 hours instead of 14 hours, because that's a serious flight from New York when you're coming back and you got your head all fucked up and not. Oh yeah. But you're not fucked up, but you know what I mean. And so that was part of my decision. But eugenics, I personally think that they might be the greatest clinic in the world, just based on the stuff I've seen. Another thing why I didn't go with them at near the last second was, and this is nothing against them, but one of the few things I've noticed is that like it's a lot of Middle Eastern descent, more darker complexion a lot of the times, and I'm like very light skinned with the darker hair, so that was just a little small factor, even though I'm sure everything would have been fine if I went to eugenics, but they're doing amazing stuff over there. I love the videos on them, but yeah, I just it was crazy, man. I can't believe I did it, and everything went really well, and it's like a little bit of a mind fuck because it's amazing afterwards, and then you have the shed phase, right? And it's like
how many weeks ago did you have it done?
It was like a month, basically.
And where did you go?
He went to Doran.
It doesn't have to be a review.
He went to Doran.
I didn't go to Doran. I went overseas.
Oh, you went overseas?
Correct. Right. But,
okay. Where was it?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I'd rather not go into that yet, because we went over that a while ago. Because I live in this paranoid world where if anything goes wrong, like I want to speak to you guys about it and not carry the doctor's name with that.
And you know what? I respect that actually.
So yeah, but I mean, I've been there. I've been on trips by myself all over. I've traveled the world. I've even been on a trip by myself before, but it was just it hit differently. You know what I mean? When it came those last few days, it was kind of hard for me. But once
you're alone, I mean, anything, and there's a major step in your life. You're having a pretty significant cosmetic surgery, and it's
correct.
You're sitting in that hotel. You're just like, what the fuck am I doing? You have no one to bounce anything off of.
I was just going to say, most people that have a few brain cells that decide to go on this trip by themselves, they do have that moment. I call it the come to Jesus moment, where they're sitting in the room and they're just kind of either looking at themselves in the mirror or they're just kind of looking off into space, thinking to themselves, what the fuck am I doing here? What am I doing? Why am I here?
Well, that was
and you actually contemplate leaving. Yeah.
That I had that emotion go through me. But you know what it is? I also had this feeling where by the time it came time for the surgery, it was just like my hair was just so messed up. I was just so ready to just do it. And it was by the time it started, before I knew it, I was on the operating table, and it was just going well. And I'm just right now I have good feelings. But yeah, there was a lot of mixed emotions there. But that's basically.
So what are your feelings? So right now you have good feelings. I mean, so obviously the experience itself was good, and the after care was good, and now that you're home and you're dealing with the ugly duckling phase, you still feel pretty good.
Yeah, well, one of the most shocking things of the whole experience was the fact that I actually didn't look bad at all with a shaved head. With a hairline, though, it's important to say. So that's like a really good feeling, knowing that, let's just say my crown and mid-scalp go thin out worse. Like, having, let's say, like a low guard really isn't such a far-fetched idea to me anymore one day, like a haircut like that.
That's great, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was kind of shocking in that sense. And
I'm gonna have to get I'm gonna have to look like a Beatles wig.
Shave your head before a hair transplant just to see how you like it, because a lot of times guys will say just like you. It's like, I actually like the shaved head look. I mean, albeit in your case with a hairline, that makes sense. But a lot of times guys are like, why should I spend the money? I'm fine with this, and they didn't even realize it until they actually did it. So it makes sense. It makes sense. Like I understand, but so you had it last month. When did you book it? Like, how long did you have to wait to get in?
You're digging, Joe.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm just trying to gauge this clinic against the norms that are going on in the industry right now, and I'm sticking to that.
It was a while. It was a good 7 or 8 months. This was not in Turkey, and it was a long wait for me, definitely. And that
it was Portugal or Belgium.
Could have been the UK.
Could have been, but I don't think you'd go from New Jersey to the UK for a hair transplant.
There's some good clinics there. There's some good clinics,
there are a few.
Joe, he's not going to tell you. You're not going to get it out of him.
I'm digging, and I'll do it until I figure it out.
Well, I will say that I'm not going to, like I said last time, I'm not going to be one of these guys that calls in every month saying, "Oh my God, this is happening, that's happening." I'm going to call again in a couple months, and at that point, I'll let you guys know. But I don't know what to say. I just want to let you guys know that, because it was a long time coming for me. And it was just crazy because, it went so well that, how afterwards, like, you have the scabs by your hairline, right? And you could think sometimes that'll make it look like a harder hairline than it really is. Yeah. And it actually looked fine at that point, and that's what really reassured me. And then once those came off, then it was like, okay, wow, this looks okay. Now, hopefully it grows, fingers crossed, but that's the next step,
Well, you know what? The chances are that since you're a guy who's been listening to the program for a long time, who's done this research, who, decided to follow through with surgery, and you're now telling me that your experience is what it was, I mean, it's unlikely it's not going to grow. If you get 90% growth, you're going to be in good shape. So
Yeah, I'd be very happy with that for sure.
And you're likely to get more. So I would say, just hang in there. Good luck. I'm glad. Listen, you're welcome to call in every week if you want. If there's any emergencies or updates or questions or whatever it is, that's what we're here for.
Thanks.
But,
thanks.
I really want you to. I really want you to just. You did it, so just feel comfortable with it, man.
Yeah, and I have, you guys are a part of the puzzle, obviously, to help, that helped me through this. So, hope you guys know that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I really hope that you have the outcome that you're looking for. And let people know, man. Let these guys know they're looking for hope.
You want me? All right. You want me to just go over? The clinic?
Sure, whatever.
If you guys really,
sure.
If if you're really, you know, I mean, because it really was.
If you're going to give it up, then I'm not interested. I wanted to try to figure it out, but if you're just going to give it up that easy, I'm not interested.
It just doesn't feel, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it just doesn't make me feel comfortable. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm a little bit of an anxious guy, you know. So.
Well, but you also
do you.
Yeah, you got to do what you. I don't want you to hang up from this call and be like, "Why did I do that?" So you got to feel 100% comfortable. Otherwise, don't do it.
Or why didn't I do that?
All right. Say again.
So Joe's
why didn't I do that?
Joe's such an instigator, man.
Yeah, no, I will. No, you know, maybe next time.
Okay.
But,
well, listen.
For now, good call.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Good luck. I'm glad you called in, and you never have to tell us if you don't want to. I just hope it works out for you.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Right.
Have a great show.
Take care.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
You too.
All right, buddy. Thanks for calling.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. Okay, you are just so
I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to
cold. This poor guy doesn't want. This poor guy doesn't want. He doesn't want to. He almost did it. He felt the peer pressure to provide this information to you.
I think that he was looking in his heart and realizing that he should call back and let us know.
No, I respect his decision. First of all, he wants to know that he has the option if, God forbid, something happens. That what a lot of people don't fully understand is once they go out there, whether it's on the Bald Truth or on message forums or in chat groups or on social media, and they become a kind of a known, like if they had a bad outcome, for instance, and they become a known complainer, public complainer. There's a lot of physicians where it really limits their ability to get repaired. And I'm not saying that's right, but that's just the reality. It's fucked up. You should be able to go out there and do whatever you need to do. But it can limit their ability to get repaired. And I think that, Mike is acting wisely.
It is wise. I agree with that. And, there is the idea that it actually makes a clinic more agreeable because all the dirt is out in public view. So what else are they going to do? But at the same time, I do understand why he wants to keep it quiet. He just doesn't feel comfortable about it because he didn't feel comfortable having the surgery to begin with.
We tried to talk him out of it.
If you're, I remember that. And Mike, if you're listening, the 1 month point that you're at now, you've already started the worst part of the entire procedure, and that's the waiting. And at this point, most of the grafts have probably shed, so it's looking worse now, or it will look worse now in about another month than it did before you even went in to have surgery, as far as the loss, because your hair is really short, albeit growing back, but all those little grafts that were placed, all those little hairs that were placed that made it fill in, and you're looking at it and you're like, wow, this looks good, they're gone. And maybe even some of the native hairs are temporarily gone as well, which is completely normal. But this is the ugly duckling phase, or it will be the ugly duckling phase. And as my former colleague and mentor, Mike Furco, used to say, the hair transplant surgery is the easy part. The hard part is between day 1 and month 10, because it's an up and down journey that you're going to go on. And you'll come out on the other end, and you'll be just fine, I'm sure.
Well, on that note, we just lost four callers that were hanging on when Mike was calling.
I do that.
Guys, phone lines are open again, so call us, 888-659-3727. We have about 45 minutes left for the broadcast. Voice is cracking. So give us a call. We're here to answer your questions. If you have any concerns, if you're considering hair transplant surgery, if you have surgery scheduled for Monday, you're not sure if you made the right decision, we'll tell you the truth. We're not always right, but we know what's happening in this field. You name a doctor, most cases we're going to know them. Now, I would say just a few years ago, when someone named a region and a specific city, I was able to just rattle the names off of every doctor who was performing surgery anywhere in the world. That is over. because the industry has grown exponentially. There are people I have no idea who these people are. People who own med spas or work for med spas. I just got an application from somebody that works connected to a large chain clinic somewhere in Europe, and I didn't actually see the application. This person was able to contact me through WhatsApp and said that they applied and never got a response. And I'm like, well, are you working for a chain clinic? I asked specific questions, and he did state that he's associated with a particular clinic, but he's actually independent. And I said, well, that's why you didn't get through the vetting system, man. You want to apply to the IHS, you can't put that you're working for a clinic, a chain clinic especially. You put your name, your information, your experience, and if it makes sense, then it's sent over to my desk and we contact you. So a lot of these guys, they apply, and I know that you've gotten complaints about this, Joe. They apply, and I never see the application because it doesn't make the light of day. But my point is, there's a lot of people, I never heard of this guy. Just 10 years ago, I heard of everybody in the industry.
Yeah.
That's how fast it's growing.
Dude, I was telling you when I was in Turkey, like, of all the people that came up to and introduced themselves to me, I knew maybe 5. And that was a small percentage of all the people that I met that came up to me. It's like, great, nice to meet you. Who? Like, I wasn't a dick about it, but, it's shocking. And
it's also
some
exciting.
Of them are doing really good work.
Yeah, it's also exciting. I'm seeing that.
Exciting. That's what I was saying the other day. Is it's exciting because the future of the industry is in the hands of a lot of these new people, and it looks good. It gives me hope. It gives me hope.
I think part of it is we have to actually connect with a lot of these guys because they're the future of the industry, but they're kind of hidden. And the bad players, sadly, the bad actors are getting all of the fucking press, man.
Yeah. Well, they're paying the big bucks to these million subscriber YouTubers.
And you can't blame them. There's been a lot of articles recently, and there's one that came out about mainstream cosmetic surgery and these influencers, and these young kids that are starting at the age of 18 getting fillers, lip injections and fillers, different procedures provided on the cuff. If these people have a certain amount of subscribers, there's this one kid who started at the age of 18, and now he's like 20-something years old. And he's talking about how he regrets changing his face. And when I look at his changes over the years, he was saying that he was getting a lot of solicitation from different big companies and products and whatever to be to advertise and to pimp out. And he's not getting as many now. And if you look at him, he has distorted his appearance at a very young age. And what these young guys don't understand, and this obviously goes, when you talk about a hair transplant, it could be even more devastating. What these young guys don't understand and these young women don't understand is that once you change your appearance in that respect at such a young age, especially if you're not using something that's solid or if you're not just getting old school, cold hard steel procedures, you're fucked. Once you start injecting fillers and shit like that into your face at a young age, it's done. You have this constant inflammation. You have to have it redone multiple times. With every pass, you're causing more scarring, more inflammation. By the time you're 40 years old, you're fucking finished, man. Yeah. They're trying to get that shit out of your face. So, and we're talking about fillers, which are, it's pretty serious stuff in my view. But think about that as a young person getting a hair transplant. Done. By the time you're my age, 57 years old, and you start at 22 years old, maybe there'll be a cure, maybe there'll be more treatments, or we don't know. But if there aren't any, you're fucked, man.
Potentially.
Well, it's unlikely you're going to be a Joe Tillman, especially in this current environment, because you're going to be FUE'd out, man. You're going to have a totally buckshot, just destroyed donor area And if you're lucky, the hair is going to grow on the top of your head. Maybe it will, maybe it won't.
And that's what really gets me about a lot of these places that are depleting donor zones. They're doing it in one shot on a virgin scalp, which was almost impossible back in the day of FUT, unless it was just like a horrible donor scar and really tight closure. But you could still get hair from other areas of the scalp if you were creative,
right?
Like Dr. Wong, like he would go into other areas of the scalp. If you blow your load with FUE in one shot, you're done. And some of these guys online will be like, "Oh, just throw some body hair in it."
Yeah, throw some body.
Really?
Get some SMP. Throw some body hair in it. Here's all of my. If it doesn't work out, I'm just going to shave my head and get SMP.
Yeah.
You know how many times I've seen that? At least
countless.
At least 100 times, maybe more. I'm talking about people who have actually contacted me or the American Hair Loss Association who've been fucked.
Yeah.
Now, 100 doesn't seem like a lot of cases. Those are just the people that took the time to be like, what do I do now? I'm fucked.
Mm-hmm. Help.
You could extrapolate that. We need to form some sort of an equation like they do with the flu. Or, like if 100 people contact us directly about a particular situation, how many thousand are actually dealing with it?
Makes sense.
Joe thinks it makes sense.
Who's gonna do that?
That makes it make sense. I don't know. Maybe the ISHRS. We give Ricardo some work. There's a phone number, 888-659-3727. Look, if phones don't ring, I'm going to go. I just ordered I had the person who's coming over to order some dinner. Just picked out what I'm eating while I was doing that, while I was talking to you guys. That's how good we are.
And yet not a single comment about how you look disinterested.
Mean from you?
From anyone in the chat room, from me.
Yeah. Have you? Am I looking at my phone going? No, I'm not. I'm sitting here typing on my computer, and people don't know if you're disinterested or not. People see that you're still engaged, or I can actually type. There's no pause if someone's on the phone. It's just like I'm typing away. Maybe it's my experience. I don't know, Joe. Typing away, and I can go right into what they said.
I also wasn't paying attention to what you're doing, so there's that.
Oh,
that helps.
Damn it! All right, guys, listen. Call us. Call us. We like to do the show every Friday, but if we don't get calls, we go, and then it's gone. And then you got to wait till next Friday.
We're here for free to answer your questions about hair loss and hair transplant surgery, people. Hey, if you don't take advantage of it, that's fine. I got a party to go to tonight.
I didn't order Chili's, but Chili's is good. I haven't had Chili's in a long fucking time. Don't make fun of Chili's.
I have never been to a Chili's.
I love that kind of shit. If I didn't have a little discipline, like if I didn't really care, I would be huge, man. And I would have type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes. And I would be huge.
Yeah.
I would be at least 300 pounds. If I ate what I really wanted to eat, like where my mind goes, like I would love to go to the McDonald's drive-thru right now.
Big Mac, quarter pounder?
No, man. You just get the fucking regular cheeseburgers, but you get like 5 of them.
Those are good too.
They're perfect every time. They never fuck those up.
They're better here than they are in the States too, by the way.
Really? Why is that?
Because they actually use real meat. They don't use the pink sludge.
Who the fuck wants real meat? When you're going to a fast food joint, I don't give a shit, man. You know what's actually good? Carl's Jr. Now I got my mind all on that shit. All right, let's take a call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
This is Caleb from Chicago.
Caleb, what's happening?
Hello,
man?
Caleb.
I felt like I was going to be semi-responsible for the show ending early if I didn't call in. So
well, you know what? And I appreciate the accountability here.
That's awesome.
It worked.
So what's up, Caleb?
watched you guys for a long time, and didn't for a couple of years.
Oh, you're in the chat room
'cause I
saying
was
that you'll
busy.
call in one day, and I said call in now. I was like, why don't you call in
That's
now?
right.
Is that you? Oh, okay, all right.
That's me.
It worked.
Yeah, why not call? Why not call?
Exactly. Why not?
I just buzzed all my hair off about 2 weeks ago. This is
How do you feel
after,
about
like, it's, I've done it one other time about 10 years ago, and that was when I was 25, right? So it made me look like I was, 40. So I didn't like that because it's like I'm not 40 yet.
But now it's the reverse. Hold on, did my camera just stop?
Yes, your
Joe,
camera did just stop.
Take the reins. Let me plug this shit in.
Again.
Technical
Joe with the
difficulties.
save. That's all right. So why'd you shave it again for the second time now?
So I was able to make some kind of a look happen. I started using Dermatch and Topic, which I would jokingly refer to as sprinkles because it's like, sprinkling salt on something, right? And that worked for a long time. And then in the last year, the little forelock in the front was just losing its ability to whatever. It was too weak.
Not holding on to
it lost the ability to anchor the look.
Yeah, you can't. Once you lose too much, the cover-up looks insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it looked okay still from like the front and pictures and all that, but like, man, if you looked at it from the side, it was just like there was nothing there. I'm like, okay, all right, I guess time to do something. So I'm seeing if I can live with a buzz cut. Like, am I going to do that, or am I going to do the Hulk Hogan, or am I going to go for a transplant?
How old are you now?
I've just been listening to you guys again. 35.
Okay. So, first of all, you sound a lot older, and I think that's not in a bad way. Not like you have like some old Biden voice. Did I say that? But you just sound like you have a lot more life in you. Let's put it this way: a lot more experience and wisdom. So, if you're 35 years old and you're able to live your life with a shaved head, then you fucking win. Live your life. Enjoy that. Fucking enjoy that. Now, do you have facial hair?
I do. That's more of a new development. I wasn't doing that 10 years ago, but having it now makes it feel a little more right.
Yeah, it gives you balance, man. I always wanted a beard when I was a kid. As soon as I can grow a mustache, Joe. I was trying, like in Hebrew school, okay? But when I started to lose my hair and I started to notice there was a recession in the hairline, I noticed that growing it a little longer and being more consistent with it kept more balance in my face as my hairline went up a little bit. And it really does make a difference. Now if I shave it, I look like an old baby.
Right, and you don't want that.
Yeah, right? Not a good look.
He looks like an old baby. Yeah, I just having a couple millimeters of growth on my full beard, that's all I need to keep me from looking like an old baby, just like Spencer said. Like when I shave and it's just skin, ooh, it's not a good look.
And it probably isn't that bad, but you're looking at yourself and you're not framed like you normally are, and you're noticing I didn't have this skin drooping or whatever you're dealing with when I wasn't shaving.
To grow it back.
When your wife tells you to grow it back,
that's how you know.
That's when you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe it's time to get a new wife. I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
But Joe,
mail order. Sorry about that.
I love your wife.
Yes,
she's the best. She's the best. That's a joke for anybody else except for Joe.
Yes. She's aight. She's good peeps.
She's a good person. I like her.
Yeah. So the facial hair thing helps to balance things out. And what are you going to do? Like, it's balancing things out. What are you looking for? Because you said that you're thinking about a hair transplant. Are you taking the meds? Are you doing the preventative stuff? You've been listening to us. You should be at least learning that stuff. Where are you on this now, Caleb?
I've been taking finasteride for like 5 years, and that really seems like it slowed it down. Like, I probably would have been a Norwood 5 by now if I wouldn't have started taking it.
There you go.
Now I'm like a Norwood 3.5, or somewhere in there, 3.5 to 4. I don't know. Haven't looked in the chart for a while. I'm just thinking about it because do I want to look exactly the same the rest of my life? And I guess there's nothing wrong with that. I used to have hair down to my shoulders, and I kept that as long as I could, and then went with a shorter look about 10 years ago, and then I kept that as long as I could do that. So we'll see. Well,
I'm going to be. You're a young man. I can tell you this. You're not going to look the same for your entire life, even if your hair looks the same your entire life. So you don't have to worry about that. Yeah. Shit just fucking changes. Like I told you, my back is like Braille now. I got shit popping up on my skin. It's unbelievable. Jesus. It's like I remember looking at my dad when we went to the health club or whatever it was. Went to work out and take off a shirt. My dad was in pretty good shape, for an old dude. And I was thinking, like, what is that shit? Like, what are these marks on his skin? What are these things popping up? I'm like, is that going to happen to me? Yes, it's going to happen to you.
Yes, it is going to happen to you.
Boy.
So, yeah, man. I mean, if you can deal with having a shaved head, if you feel comfortable, if you're still living your life without this being a major aspect of your life, meaning that you're looking in the mirror and you're overly concerned, if it makes you feel better than walking around with thinning hair, then you win.
And you've definitely said that and been really consistent about it. And so that's what I was thinking about when I did it. So I can walk out of the house and go to work and see friends and family and do all that. So I don't have a weird shaped head, which is nice. I know not everybody, if their parents laid them on their head too much or something.
That's fucking.
I got a buddy. The back of his head is flat. Like he's screwed.
Head shape is everything.
If he ever had to do that.
Head shape and actually the dimensions of and the eyebrow to the top of your head. That dimension is really important. I've had a larger forehead. Over the last 20 years, and it wasn't that small when I was a kid. So I would have it would be like a cone head type of situation. I wouldn't be happy with it. I'm pretty sure. Joe still wants me to do it, and maybe one day I will, to see if in fact I do look like Kane from Kung Fu. But it sounds to me like you are in the position to shave your head, and you are one of the rare guys. Not rare, but you're in that percentile who are very lucky.
Yeah, I agree with that because a lot of one of my buddies that encouraged me to do it he's losing his hair too, and he's 5 years younger than me, and he's got a pretty decent comb over going on. Yeah. I mean, it
sucks, man. But it's the fucking worst, especially when you're 30 years old.
Right.
And he encouraged you to do it so that it would help to encourage himself to do it. It's like, well, if I can talk him into doing it, then I get to see what it looks like on him.
But there's nothing more fucked up than telling your friend, encouraging your friend to do it. Your friend looks good, and you look like shit when you do it.
That's we don't want to do that.
Yeah. But I'm happy for you, man. You know what? If you, like you said, I'm glad that you had the opportunity to listen to the show, and that was somehow something that was a takeaway from you, that if you can deal with it, if you can live life, and you could still enjoy your relationships, and you're not preoccupied with your hair anymore, and you can look at yourself and feel, okay, this isn't perfect, but I feel pretty good, and it's only going to get better possibly with time. And if you can go to work and that none of that changes, then you fucking won. You beat hair loss. Surgery is a last fucking resort. I see guys who have gotten surgeries, or 1 or 2 surgeries, then they decide to shave their head. Shave your head first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Save 30 or 40 years.
You do it afterwards, you're done. Yeah.
But it's beyond even saving the money. It's like, okay, then you're stuck with a scar. Or now with FUE, you're stuck with thousands of scars in the back of your head.
That's the other thing I was thinking about, because I've been going with a shorter look, and it's like, well, what happens if, you do FUE and then you decide, well, are you going to be able to see, are you going to be able to detect it? And I don't know.
You will be able to detect it. If you shave your head, I think a good example, and I saw this the other day, and we were talking about Mr. Rolandis. He had kind of a unique scarring situation. When I say unique, he scarred a little bit more aggressively than some others might. And
a little hypertrophic.
Yeah, that's the word. Thank you. Incredible hair transplant. This guy looks like a new person. He's so thrilled that he had it done. He went to a great surgeon. Everything worked out. But I don't think he was fully prepared, but he accepted it for the level of scarring that he had. When he brings it down to the skin, you can see all the scars. He brings it down to whatever, number 1, you can see all the scars. And they're significant. Now, he's been able to, I think, they look like, and again, they're hypertrophic, so they look like the holes are slightly dilated. And he's been able to kind of work on that with microneedling, I think. I've been watching some of his videos. And they do look a little smaller to me.
I thought I watched part of that. I was busy doing other things at the same time. I was multitasking, but I thought he said something about how he didn't feel like it made any difference, or it was marginal at best.
I would say it was probably marginal, but from what I saw, it looked like they were a little flatter to me. So I don't remember exactly what he said, but they looked a little flatter to me. But the point is, if he decided to shave his head completely one day, the recipient area would probably look good because he had a perfectly executed hair transplant, but he would have a speckled back of the head. If you ever get any sun on his scalp, it's just going to show up like polka dots. So you have to be willing to deal with that and say, okay, this is a possibility if I decide to shave my head down the line. If you can deal with it, great.
Yeah.
Now, you could heal perfectly well. You could have very small punches and these tiny punctate wounds where it's going to be less visible, but it's always going to be some sort of a speckling or discoloration compared to your native skin, unless you are super white and you never get sun on your scalp when you shave your head.
That's good to know, because I knew there'd be some, but yeah, hearing you put it like that is like, hey, yeah, that's because you got to be thinking 20 years from now. Or longer, right? I mean, that's...
I love the sun. I probably love it too much. That's why I got shit all over me. But I know that if I decide to shave my head, I have to make that choice to know that, okay, I'm not going to have surgery because if I decide to shave my head, things don't work out, I'm never going to be able to go out in the sun again without it being a blaring, like weird look on the back of my scalp and the sides. And then people are like, well, you can tattoo it. You can try to match the color of your skin. I mean, people do all kinds of crazy shit.
In it.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Surgery's the last resort, man. And again, and when I talk about Mr. Rolandis, he had an incredible result. This is a life-changing result. It's beautiful. And when he could still keep it really short without any noticeable scarring. But if he shaves it, you're going to see all of the 4,000 or 6,000 scars that he has. And that's just reality.
Wow.
You have to accept it and say, once you're cut, and accept the fact that you are now limited to having hair for the rest of your life. And for a lot of people, that's not a limitation. That's what they want. Mm-hmm. All right, man?
All right, cool. Thanks for taking the call.
Oh, listen, thank you for calling because you saved the show.
Anytime.
All right, man. Take care. Bye-bye. Good luck.
All right, later.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
888-659-3727. I think that's a really great example, that guy's transplant. Because he wasn't disappointed. He wasn't upset by it. He was just a matter of fact. Like, he knew that going in that this could happen. And it did.
Yeah, and it did.
It could have been a lot worse.
And I'm sure that if he had the choice, he would much rather stick with what he's got now as opposed to going backwards to get rid of the scarring in time.
Yeah.
Because the result, I mean, expect nothing less from his doctor. It's fantastic. And
I would say that he
fullness is on point.
I'm not sure, but he may have taken the fucking brass ring as far as the hair transplant is concerned.
Could have.
I mean, that fucking kid. I mean, he also has really great textured hair.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it was like the perfect storm.
Yeah, it's A pluses across the board, 10s across the board as far as his candidacy goes. The only unforeseen, and this is exactly what can happen to any other patient, is the fact that he had a hypertrophic response to the scarring.
Yeah.
And same thing would happen with some strips. Other cases of FUE, like even if they use, the advertised smallest punches in the business, it doesn't mean anything if you don't heal the same way as other people do. If you're one of those outliers, assuming everything else goes perfectly.
I would say
surgical fault. It's a physiological issue.
It's physiological, but I would say that now I think in the running, when I look at the best hair transplants online, it's you, Stevenson, and Rolandis.
I'd put him up there for sure.
Yeah. Crazy. So few, actually.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You look tired, dude, but we got full forward, so I'm going to take a call.
I am tired, but let's do it. Let's push through.
All right. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Bruce in Houston.
Bruce, my man, how are you?
Bruce. What's up, brother?
Hey, not much. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. It's funny. Your doctor, Dr. Yaker, contacted me today just to say hi, just to check in. Haven't heard from him in forever. So, I mean, maybe this is some sort of a, I don't know, maybe it's a sign.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah, that's coincidental. I'm doing great. I'm 2 months in, and really not. Of course, there's nothing to report at 2 months, but I think and y'all told me this I've probably heard y'all say this 20 plus times where he did the grafts behind the hairline there, and I think I had shock loss from the other transplanted hair before, but I'm pretty optimistic. I think y'all told me at least, like I said, 20 times that will come back too eventually with the new grafts.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I think you made a good choice. Let me ask you. Now, you said that you switched to his topical.
I did.
And how are you doing on that?
I was doing well. I was on it for about 3 months since February before I quit the oral and before I had my surgery with him. So then, of course, I had to get off of it for what 2-3 weeks, about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then getting back on it, it seemed like just in 3 weeks, kind of a little bit weak, whatever. But now I've been back on it for 6 weeks, and it's strong. It looks good.
Yeah, I have. I know. Yeah. I've been seeing some results, and it seems to have put together something really good. So I mean, we'll see. I mean, listen, they're all not created equal. That's the problem. You have to know where it's sourced from, but he seems to have really consistent results with his topicals, and I haven't found that with a lot of others. Some others, for sure. Yeah. So you just never know, man. I mean, it's a luck of the draw, and it depends on the company that you're working with, and I think he put together a good product.
Yeah, I do too, and I think that for me, I've got to be realistic and factor in like things like my age, what the hair loss over the last 3 decades, whatever. So, from what I'm gathering so far, from what I see, is not necessarily the new growth, but strengthening of what I do have. Yeah, and so I think that's kind of you got to factor in all that. I'm not like 30 years old anymore.
Yeah, but even if you were, if the drug is just if the medication is just reversing the miniaturization, your donor, it's keeping your native hair strong and giving it longer life cycles, that's huge, especially if you're a transplant patient. You want to save that hair. You need as much hair as possible.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is the stubbles, how those grafts fall out. Some of them did, but some of them stayed. So I can still feel a lot of stubbles in there that want to start growing that, just haven't yet. But, I can comb the front back. It's just a little weird now. I comb the front back and it goes over that part, but it doesn't, it's hard to style or do anything. You know what I mean? Because I had the shock loss from the previous transplanted hair in that area. Not that it was real strong, but it was acceptable.
Yeah. We have no idea, man. It makes sense, but it's. I mean, it sounds like you're on your way back to feeling a little bit more comfortable about that.
I'm thinking probably by 2 months in, probably by October, ought to be, feeling pretty good about things.
Well, you should send Joe some pictures.
Makes sense. Yeah, I'd like to see.
Okay. Yeah.
That'd be awesome, man.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, man. All right,
Okay.
Bruce, anything else, man? While we got you on the line?
No, that was it. I just wanted to call in and share that, and then you guys have a good weekend.
I appreciate it, man. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
Take care.
You too.
Thanks for your service
right.
again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank
All
you,
right.
sir. Okay, bye.
As a cop, you got to thank these guys, man, for the work that they do.
I know.
Especially during these crazy times, man.
Got to thank him for calling on top of his service.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling,
He's
Bruce.
such a great caller. Always.
He is. All right, let's see who this is, and then... I don't know. I feel a little tense, dude. Do you got to go? Because if you do, is it me?
No.
Okay. I just want to make
think
sure
it's
that
you.
everything's okay. Dude, I'm not well. I'm telling you, I am not well. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? Caller, you're on the air.
Hello.
Oh, hung up. Yeah, man. That's the story of my life. I'm not well. I'm slightly neurotic. I feel like I'm an empath, which really fucks you up because you're always worried and feeling someone else's fucking misery.
And there was a lot of misery here, my friend. No,
Well,
I'm
whether
just
it's
kidding.
yours or
Well,
anybody else's, I'm always sensing someone's angst or their what's going on in their lives, and when I see their pain, I actually feel it. And I've been that way since I'm a little kid. I was like that with my mother when she was dealing with some shit, and I helped her out. Even as a kid, I remember, which is fucking weird. My mother would come to me. I'm talking about an 8, 9-year-old child to talk because somehow I gave her solace.
Well, you did your job as her kid.
Yeah, but no one did anything for me.
Of course not.
That's why I'm not well.
It's a thankless job.
Let's see who this is.
It's a thankless job.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Cebu from California.
Hey, man, what's going on?
Hey, Cebu.
Hey, it's funny you bring up mother. I don't remember, but I called. I think it's been a while since I've called in this show. I only called in once before, but I'm the guy who shared. Yeah, I said my mom looked at my hair and said, "Oh my God."
Oh, that's
and,
right.
Like really scared the bejesus out of me, and so that was me. I just called in to check in and say what's up, and
well, how are you doing,
just
man?
share a little bit more.
Go ahead.
I'm doing great. So I moved out actually at my parents' place. Like I was living there, saving on rent, but
how old are you now?
I found a buddy of mine who wanted to move out. Yeah, so it's cool.
How old are you
on
now?
my own and started a new job. I'm 28, so
You're 28.
So,
Holy
yeah.
shit, you stayed
Yeah,
at home
so
till you're
just-
28 years old. And nothing wrong with that because it seems
Yeah.
to be pretty common today, man.
It
Like when we
is,
were
it
kids,
is. And
we were kids, you were 18 and you went to college.
You were out.
If you went to college, you can't come back.
Exactly.
That was it.
Yeah, my parents were keeping me there for a long time, because they were, very money minded. They're like, hey, you're working here, like, why are you gonna go spend rent? Even as I was moving out, they were still like, you don't think you want to stay for one more year or a couple more years? Maybe when you get married, you can move out.
I actually agree with that. I think, especially if you get along with your family, I think that more kids should do that. And honestly, if I had children, that offer would be on the table because I honestly felt like it's either, get a job or, like I wouldn't survive. I would be homeless.
Well,
that was a terrible feeling.
Totally.
In Western culture, like we're catching up or reverting back to what like they do in India or Italy or a lot of other countries where where the kid lives at home until they are actually married, and sometimes they even stay in the house till they get their own place.
But the thing is,
After
it's not about culture or respect, or having
now,
close
now
family. It's about
out of a shitty
necessity.
economy.
Now it's money, is the economy.
Yeah.
But I got a little mix of both because I am Indian and my family we're like first generation immigrants and all. So
oh yeah.
So but it's been
lucky.
cool. I also started a new job. I work at a startup, so not exactly great for my hair. It's been making it fall out more.
Don't stress about that shit, man. You know what? You just put your head down and do your work, because worrying about any of it, in the end, you realize, like, why did I waste so much time worrying? I would have had the same outcome.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my whole journey and career and stuff. Sometimes it feels like, dang, I should be somewhere where I'm not, and sometimes it feels like I'm just getting started. And I don't know. It's been tough, coming out of college. Like, they don't prepare you for that. They teach you all these other things in university. They don't really tell you, like, oh yeah, by the way, it's going to be a shit show once you get out.
And by the way, this has nothing to do with this philosophy class. Really has very little to do with life. And they don't even teach you how to fucking balance a checkbook in school. You kids are they're telling kids, 18-year-old kids, you want to go to school? Yeah, no problem. We'll give you a fucking loan. They don't explain to you exactly what that means.
Yep.
So you're signing you're signing paperwork at the age of 17, 18, 19 years old. You're going to be saddled to this shit for the rest of your life. Not to get you depressed.
Enjoy college.
Yeah. But that's I'm saying that they don't prepare you for. So you're right about that. Kids are. I mean, they're fucking lost, man. I was lost. I had to learn fast, but I was lost.
Yeah, I feel like that's everyone's journey, right? You got to get lost, and then I don't know, spiritual shit, find yourself and whatnot, and come out of the forest or whatever.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're 60.
I did also call with a question. So
yeah, go ahead.
And Spencer, you can't joke around with me, because last time you were like, you were pulling my leg, and you have the power, man. I'm just a kid. I'll believe anything you say.
Okay. I forgot what I said.
I don't remember. You were telling me to go get something tattooed on my head or patterned on my head, and that's how I'll measure my hair growth loss.
Oh, that's right. I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
Trust me, you're not the first guy to do that to, so don't worry about it. Don't take it personally.
No worries. But
what's up?
One thing I've been struggling with is, like, I've always, like, never really fully, like, gotten a verdict, like, do I have, like, the hair loss or not? And I know that sounds really, really weird, but, like, initially what happened is, my temples started receding, like, pretty quickly, really, really bad. And then that's the whole, my mom, like, lifting up my hair and being like, what the hell? And then I went into my doctor, and he's also, like, said, lift up your hair, and he said, yep, you're going bald. And I'm like, okay, well, this sucks. But, like, I have a lot more hair than a lot of people I know. It's just the one areas that it just really looks apparent are, like, my temples.
Yeah. Now, do you notice?
I don't really know.
Do you notice when you look at the temple area? Do you notice that the hairs look wispier, shorter, less robust in the actual front hairline?
Yeah, I do. And like I said, I started on finasteride. At first it was weird. Like, my doctor scared me off of it. He was like, "Oh, like, cancer risk, blah blah blah." And then I got the whole Reddit and everything and all that stuff. All the false information, rumor stuff being put out for it, which it scared me even more. But then finally, like, I talked to, like, a local hair surgeon. Well, I didn't talk to the surgeon, but I talked to one of their assistant, the nurses, and he said, get on it. You'll be totally fine. Like, it slows it down at a glacier's pace, and that's what you need. You're so young, it'd be great for you. And I even, that's when I found Joe's channel. That's when I found the Australian guy's hair loss show. And and that's when I started feeling a bit more confident. I was okay with taking finasteride. Went back to my doctor, got the prescription, titrated down to, like, only 3 times a week. But then I've had periods of time where I've, like, been on it, off it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's just me being bad at taking my medication regularly.
Well, so how are you doing with it?
I don't really notice any side effects or anything, and I think, I'm hoping it's working, and that's the whole thing. I'll never really know.
Well, you'll know.
Like,
I mean, if you were losing, if you were slowly progressing, if you're getting a receding hairline at a young age, if you notice that there's miniaturized hair in the hairline and things seem to be kind of stagnant now, then that means it's working. Yeah,
and that's what I feel. That's where I've kind of ended up. Even even like when I used to get my hair cut really short too. Like I go to a barber and he'd be like, I tell him too, I'm like, hey, what kind of hairstyle looks best for, with this? And he's like, dude, I don't think you have hair loss. I think like maybe a barber messed up your hair. I'm like, I don't know who to believe, but I do feel like that. I feel like my hair's been like where it's at. I've actually grown it out a lot, so like I kind of have like a mullet. It's weird, but it's everything except like the temples, And so I'm just wondering, like, is like temple work a thing? Like, because that's just the one thing that I can't like.
It is a thing.
I'm fine with it being stagnant.
It is a thing. It's a failing thing. It's a thing that you do not want to do, especially if you have a lot of hair. Because if you can style it and walk out into the world with the hair that you have, and you don't see it shedding all over the place, and you haven't seen it progress, and you're able to style it the way that you like to style it, but the only thing that you can't do is hold it back and show the world. Then you win. Let me ask you this question. If you can maintain what you have for the next 10 years, would you be happy?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Then don't get your hair. Imagine getting a hair transplant just in the temporal area, and then you start to recede. What's going to happen? You're going to have 2 islands of hair that are just going to be sitting there. You're going to look like a fucking idiot. You're not going to be able to get rid of it. That's how it works, true. Man. And you know what? When I was younger than you, that's what was offered to me. And at the time, there were 4mm plug grafts. I would have had horns sticking out of each corner of my hairline. And my hairline has gone up a little bit since then, but not that much. So it would have been like horns and then a little bit of recession. And so I would have had to wear it even further down than I wear it right now. So don't even consider it, dude.
Got it.
So.
Well, yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate the insight and everything, because that's what I did want to ask about.
Well, you're going to see a lot of young guys on Instagram who are going to have that work done, and for a year they're going to look good.
The Instagram, the TikTok.
Jesus.
Good luck with your war against TikTok, guys. Like I'm telling you, it's a tough battle. I don't know if it's a battle you'll ever win. But TikTok is crazy.
Let me tell you something. TikTok and Instagram is what keeps us in business, man. There's no war.
Fun with TikTok, but it's a lot of work to add that to my routine. I don't really have a routine, but I opened my TikTok account. It grew fairly quickly. I got some good views on some of these videos I made, but it's more work than I want to add to my current work.
I decided,
I'm kind of taking a break from it.
I decided I don't want any part of any of that world. You know what's going to happen is we continue to do things the way that we're doing them, and people find us. And it doesn't matter if there's 1,000 viewers at a time or 500 viewers at a time, or if one download on Joe's page gets 2,000 downloads, and then through the Bald Truth it gets more, or through other places, and you have a total of 6,000 or 7,000 people watching this broadcast. That's huge. I don't need. Now, it would be great. We'd help a lot more people if we had 200,000 views. But you know what? I don't want to be part of that world, personally. I don't know about you, Joe.
Well, it's just more work.
Well, it's a lot of work, and it's also like I don't want to sit there with a camera constantly being online and giving people advice, whatever it is, competing with these other guys. When what happens is, sadly, eventually everyone comes to us. That's what I've learned over the years. Or most people find us or find the American Hair Loss Association at some point. So we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, man, and I don't think we're going to win that battle. My hope is that, we could attract enough people so that they win the battle.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Good. That's good. Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, don't get a hair transplant. Right. You don't need one. And I'm really glad you're doing well on finasteride. And you sound good.
100%.
Thanks,
I'm glad you got out of the house.
Yeah.
You sound upbeat.
All right, man. Good luck.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah. Good. Have fun with the rest of the show.
Okay,
Talk
man.
to you later.
Thanks
Bye.
a lot. Take care.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks. Thank you.
Let's take the last call. Hey, you're on the air.
Yeah,
Who's
that'll be a
this?
short one.
Yeah, who's this and where are you calling from? Hey, caller, what's up, man?
Hello.
You're the last call of the night.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
There you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, my apologies.
No problem.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Welcome.
I have
Welcome.
a bit of an issue, so it's being on...
First of all, what's your name? Whatever name you want to give us, and where are you calling from?
Walter.
Okay.
and I'm from Canada, for whatever that is worth.
Wow.
I've been on 0.5 dutasteride per day for the last year and a half, close to 2 years. And before that, I was on finasteride for like 2 years. And recently, which is to say the last 7-ish months, no matter what I do, I'm just like losing hair like a chemotherapy patient. Doesn't make any sense.
Did you have
not really sure
Did you have COVID or were you vaccinated?
No, I never had either. Never vaxxed. I haven't been sick in the last like 3 years.
Interesting.
At all, which like I'm super healthy in that regard. I've got a great diet, lots of exercise, all that. But
can you repeat what you said you're taking? Like you said that you were taking the first medication and then you switched to finasteride. What was the first one you're taking?
Sorry. I started on finasteride, took it for 2 years, and was pretty much stable that time. And then
you said that was 1.25 or 0.25?
That was 1.25. That was 2 years or a year ago. This year, for the last 2 years, it's been 0.5 of dutasteride.
Got it. Okay.
At first, like, oh man, it was awesome. Hair went back to like youthful status. Like finasteride, it kept what I had, but it didn't really, quote, regrow. Didn't feel like it regrew anything. Whereas the dutasteride, for the first half a year, I lost nothing in the shower, and the hair just got thicker and thicker. It looked beautiful. But and then slowly, well, not even slowly, I should say. It's like somebody just flipped the switch. And for the last 7 months, like since this year started, I've just been losing it all, and it doesn't seem to make sense. So I've been on the drug for what would that be, since March of 21.
So I was thinking this, but one of the members in the chat room also brought it up. Have you changed the source of your dutasteride?
No. It's been the same pharmacy source this whole time. I was really worried at one point that's what it might have been.
But the pharmacy itself, did they change it out on you from one manufacturer to another?
There was one instance where it was a different manufacturer, but that was like I get it in 90-day supplies, and that was the second. I guess what would it be called? Like rescript, whatever. There was one time where it was a different company, but that was that was when times were good. And since then, I've been on one brand the whole time. I'd have to go into another room to see what brand it is.
Is it the same brand that you were with before when you first started?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. But on your second refill, it was a different brand, and that was a few months into it.
That would have been.
Everything was fine.
That would have been around the 6-month mark or so.
Okay, and then how soon after you like what time frame after you took your second refill and started taking that routine? How long did it take for the issue to develop to where you're losing more hair?
I'm trying to count back the days here in increments of 90. It would have been probably roughly 3 months, like after that, after the different company, so switching back. So it's been like 7 months of loss. And it's like it doesn't really seem to matter what in this instance. It's because I've switched now back to the company that was.
But I think I stepped away for a second. But from what I've heard is it seems like the culprit is switch the changeover. It could take months before you notice the shift, the telogen, and then it could take months before that telogen reverses itself, even if you get back on the original medication. So that 7-month window is pretty typical given the circumstances.
Yeah, you think it might just be a question of that?
I think it's a question of that and just time. Now that you're back on your original medication, the original brand, there's a good chance you're going to start to see a cessation of that
like
telogen.
for the record, not to cut you off, just for the record,
Right.
it was like it was probably like 3 months after I had taken the last dose of the different brand before I started losing anything.
And how many months were you on the different brand?
I would have only been on it for 3.
Okay. So you were on it for a full 3 months, and then another 3 months after you stopped taking, and then you're already back on your current brand?
To the original brand,
That's the perfect storm.
Yeah. I mean, it's very
You think
possible
so?
it's very possible that even though you got back on it, you got off, that's the way that it works sometimes. You switched it, you were on it for a full 3 months, your body was taking its time, it was going through, it wasn't necessarily shocked, but it was changing the growth cycle. And then, so it took you 6 months instead of 4 months to go into a telogen.
And Dante Manelli in the chat room, he brings up a good point. He says, especially given the long half-life of dutasteride.
That is true. That is something that I've always kind of worried about could come back to bite me in the ass kind of thing. But,
Double-edged sword. But, yeah.
Well, exactly. It's, I start to question, like, is this one of these, like, white rhinoceros cases of, what do they call it? Hyper-reflex androgenicity, whatever.
It's interesting. I haven't heard about that in years, in probably more than a decade. I haven't heard people.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm not on the forums. I don't read about it much.
I sadly am, and you read about it, and the case they always sound made up, and everyone who says that they have it doesn't ever show pictures. So it's like, okay, guy. So
I think I think the physician or the person that started to first discuss this so-called phenomenon was Dr. Peter Proctor out of Texas. I don't even think he's practicing anymore, but he was a big gun player selling a lot of products back in the late 90s, and he was involved in all of these chat groups, old school alt.bald spots, and all these these places, and that was kind of part of his repertoire when he would talk about why people are having issues. But I haven't really heard too many other, and I use experts in quotes, really discussing this phenomenon, and you don't really see a lot of papers about it. Have you read any that you're aware of?
Papers, no, and that's just it. It's like it's an anomaly. It seems to just be like an explanation for, is everything going crap? Well, it's this then.
It was an explanation that was actually developed essentially online. It was from my recollection, and there was a doctor behind it, but it was nothing that was ever really followed up. It doesn't mean that it's not a possibility, but it's nothing that was ever really followed up in any other experts. Or you don't see it in PubMed or any of the Derm Surge or any of the major publications. So we don't know if it's real.
Yeah, I've generally dismissed it. Other than like with my case, it feels like this is what's happening. Like I even look at my before and after pictures that I take, and it's like I do have new hair growing in, but it's a heck of a lot thinner than what it was 6 months ago or whatever.
Sure.
So it is.
How old are you again?
I am 29, and I started this whole thing at 26.
Okay. Well, here's the good news. The good news is that you were a great responder initially. The good news is that you are now back on the original brand that you were taking. And I think that was a really great comment in the chat. I forgot, I didn't see who left it, but Joe mentioned it, that, dutasteride has a significantly long half-life, and a lot of shit could happen during that time when you are switching brands, then getting off it, switching back. So, I mean, it may take a year, it may take 8, you may wake up next month and all of a sudden you're back on track.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So, listen, man, get back to us. Let us know how you're doing. I'm sorry that you're dealing with this, but I think, at least, and we're both not physicians, but at least in your case, you were smart enough to figure out, okay, what's going on with this drug? Has the drug been switched out on me through my pharmacy? Let me get back on my original drug. A lot of guys don't even go down that route.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't even sure if that was something that I should worry too much about, but I mean, it definitely could be a factor at the very least. And like, I have no other explanation here. Like, I had the blood works done, everything came back fine.
It's a very real factor that a lot of people and a lot of physicians dismiss, and pharmacists dismiss. But it seems to be, at least since I've been in this game, which is almost 25 years, it's kind of the one kind of missing factor. That's something that's really not discussed much in this space, but it seems pretty common. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. I'm sorry you're going through this, but I think, just hold tight. I think you're going to be okay. I hope so.
Well, thank you for the warm wishes, the words of encouragement. I'm definitely going to stick with it through to the 2-year mark at least, at the very least. And yeah, hopefully I can come back in with better news next time, something like this.
All right. Well, listen. Yeah, call us back. Let us know how you're doing. Thank you so much for the call.
Oh, thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Alrighty. Bye.
Okay, take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, Joseph, give out the websites, please.
Let's start off with, let's start off with the Facebook group, Hair Loss Conquers. It's a great resource. Like, I'm impressed with the camaraderie and the support that members there are getting. It is a private group, so you do have to apply if you have a Facebook account. So check that out. That's Hair Loss Conquerors on Facebook. Let's see what else. The UK version of The Bald Truth. It's The Bald Truth with Spencer Speck Stevenson and of course Spencer Kobren, hosted only on apetogentleman.com. It's a men's wellness and fashion and lifestyle online magazine. It's a great resource for that kind of stuff as well, but that is the home for The Bald Truth UK. And of course, speaking of Specs, you've got specshair.com. That's his website where he talks about his journey. And of course, I think he has listings of all the media appearances that he's made, because he's a big deal in the UK. All the major outlets have had Specs on to talk about hair loss and hair restoration when it comes to celebrities, royalty, and the everyday Joe. And speaking of Joe, you can check out my story. You like that segue? On my own website, hairtransplantmentor.com. It's got my complete story going all the way back, starting literally 30 years ago, or even before 30 years ago, showing my ugly mug when I was in high school, when hair loss actually started. Yeah, I was just thinking about that today. But of course, it also has all the details and information that I've learned along the way, where I've also been able to create the world's largest and most comprehensive online glossary, terms and definitions, whatever you want to call it, about hair loss and hair restoration on my website. And of course, you can also check out all the doctors that I work with that have passed my review process, which is pretty rigorous. I actually had one new applicant tell me that all the paperwork and information I'm having him gather, it's worse than putting together his medical thesis. which was funny and complimentary at the same time.
I like it.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so that's hairtransplantmentor.com. If you're listening to this broadcast on iHeartRadio, iTunes, or any of the podcast formats out there, you can watch live on video Spencer and myself every Friday right here at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and 10 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, or that means 1 a.m. in London, I think. Is that right? Yeah. No. 11 p.m. in London. And that's youtube.com/hair transplant mentor, where I've got a lot of videos. So, and a lot of them are just educational. Don't talk about any doctors or anything, just education, just basic stuff that you need to know when you're doing your research. The other websites, we've got the forums, baldtruthtalk.com, one of the most trafficked hair loss and hair restoration forums on the interwebs. Safe place to interact with others and to look at results of patients or clinics that are members of the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons, which is the safe place to start looking for hair restoration surgical options. No one's perfect, people. No doctor is perfect, and that includes doctors in the IAHRS, but it is a safe place to start because they all have a baseline of, we'll say, how do I say it, Spencer? Ethics.
But what's in it? But what's in it for Kobren?
Of skills, but what's in it for Kobren?
Yeah,
exactly. What else is there? American Hair Loss Association, AmericanHairLoss.org. De facto standard when big media has a story or reference about hair loss or hair restoration, they all turn to the American Hair Loss Association to validate their own story. What else is there? Is that it? HairLossExperiences.com, another great forum out there, another supporter of our message and this broadcast.
Did you get hair loss cure 2020?
That was the last one. Our friend over at Hair Loss Cure 2020, he also supports this broadcast by hosting it on his popular and heavily trafficked website, and it is the place to go, people. I'm not kidding. If you have any questions or any interest whatsoever in future treatments that are non-surgical,
he's the man.
He is the man. So check that out. That's hairlosscure2020.com.
All right, guys. Listen, great show, Joe. Thank you so much for continuing to be a part of this little venture.
It's fun. Yeah.
Until next time, guys. Yeah. Be strong. What was that?
This little thing called broadcasting?
Broadcasting, yeah. Thank you so much for being a part of it, Joe. Until next time, guys, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid.